By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as therapeutic advice to treat any mental health condition in either yourself or others, including but not limited to clients that you are treating or currently serving.
On this journey, we discuss many different approaches, modalities, and helping services, none of which we guarantee will be the best or most ideal approach for you. Please research for yourself and consult with your physician, psychiatrist, or other mental health provider for any medical or mental health issues that you may be having.
This podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony.
Privacy is of utmost importance to us. All people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect patient confidentiality.
Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work.
While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or corrections of errors.
We've been talking about a lot on Therapy House. You know, we had education, then we went a little psychedelic. Now we're taking a trip down vocational, careers and all that. Well, what do all these come down to? I mean, they come down to different life paths, and being in the helping professions. And I think that's what the grief and existential is going to be our next trip, and searching for that meaning, the meaning that we assign for grief, the people that we've lost or the things that we've lost or the values that we've lost, like just loss in general, and how do we process that, and existential on the side of how do you make meaning of these losses. I definitely look forward to sharing my existential approach. What's up, everybody? You're joining us here on Therapy House. It's me, John. We got in a circle Jorge, Lou, Jeremy, and Jeremiah. We're going to be talking about existential psychotherapy today. This is the framework that I mainly use. Throwing a little psychodynamic and some other skills out there too, but I'm all about that. Search for meaning. Hoping we all get a little vulnerable today, talking about deep shit. Our own existential crises, our own identity exploration that we've done, but also just kind of like how does that type of work impact our clients? Our own experiences that maybe tie our paths together with the work that we do. So what is existential psychotherapy? I think it's this partnership into the unknown. That's what I think.
The journey with yourself.
Absolutely, man. You gotta kind of like know your life path. You gotta kind of like try to carve out meaning as you go through. Carl Rogers was all about, the empathic attunement, right? He was talking about the style of therapy, but more of the existential side is like Viktor Frankl, spending time in the concentration camps and just seeing like that if he found a meaning, a purpose behind this suffering, that could give some resiliency, right? That purpose, that higher being consciousness. What are some of your experiences? Where have you guys heard of existential?
Yeah, well, I think I've heard of existential, like I didn't really hear it until I got into grad school. That was like the first time I ever heard like existential, or even like that, Viktor Frankl book. What is that book? The
Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning. And so so it was like, so putting the two together, I was like, oh, okay. Then so just kind of reading up about it, and like I read the Man's Search for Meaning and all that, and I just like that because it talks about like when he was in the concentration camp, and the whole like thing about, he talked about finding some meaning in the suffering, and having that always in the forefront of your mind, or having some like looking forward to like something in your future, or looking forward to something like. And that purpose and getting there. And so I remember like he was talking about that, how a lot of people were like just letting go of hope, or like some type of continue on with their purpose or meaning. And so for him, he said that's what kept me there. And it kept me like I didn't die, not in the physical sense, but like the die in the spiritual sense of if I gave up, I let go. That's how people die, and then whatever. And then through the concentration camp, they also died also in the physical, but it was more of just holding on to hope. And it was such a great way of putting it, because I never thought of it like that, And so, yeah, it's just such a great therapy model for sure.
Yeah, I haven't taken like any class or anything with existential therapy or anything like that, but I definitely hear it as well, like as more like the popular, I guess now infamous existential crisis stuff that people always talk about, and they're just like, well, I'm having this, crisis, this crossways or something like that. But in my own life, I think reflecting back now as an adult, I think I've had a lot of existential moments, throughout my life. I think it's an ongoing thing. I don't know how everybody else feels, but going through kind of hard moments in my life, it's kind of created that sort of like meaning making, right? And kind of how do you make meaning out of that?
As you're talking about the crossways, right? Like that fork in the road, what is, can you describe like the emotion or like the feeling that you were going through when you were at those forks in the road? Because that's when you hear the word crisis, right? You're like thinking like, oh my God, like you're aroused, you're like up, like, but you're right. That is something that, people that aren't in the field, they hear that all the time. Existential crisis. Do you remember what it feels like to be in one?
I mean, it's a straight up panic attack, like for me sometimes where I'm just kind of like very visceral, but at the same time kind of knowing that I'm in control, because this is myself who I'm talking about. I know that I have control, right? Like of what do I have control of? All these things around me sometimes, kind of cause me to feel that way.
Like question your identity, right?
Right.
I mean, I feel like when that's when we're asking those questions, right, of ourselves, like, who am I? Like, who do I want to be? Like that. I feel like those are like some of the questions that I ask a lot in existential psychotherapy.
Yeah, I think reflecting on this, I think I first came across this term, and immediately I thought of like existing issues that someone is going through, right? Existential, existence. But I mean, I didn't study it like you did or like you guys did, and I personally never like took time to research the word or like. So the way John has presented it has definitely helped me understand it a little bit better. Just like, how are we dealing with what we're going through personally, and how does that shape us to how we are? And, in the little descriptions that you brought today, it was like, all right, cool. Like, now I have a better understanding as to all of this, because to me, existential seems just like this sophisticated term, right? I've always thought of it like we're just talking about our shit. Like, I'm just venting to you about what I'm dealing with, right? I've never seen it as this term, and so shaping it the way he has helped me understand it. I guess the scientific word of it.
Well, I think that the way you're talking about it too, man, is definitely of relevance, and it begs the question of like, what does an existential therapist even look like, right? Because you're right, there are other people, like, so you go classic psychodynamic, like sit and lay on the couch, we be like writing in a notepad, and but it's existential, as for whatever caricature we have or like cartoon that we have of this therapist. I think the other hard question about it is that every existential psychotherapist supposedly does it differently too. I think I'm very experiential. I
trying new things.
Yeah, like I definitely like take my clients out in the community, and like we're like working on their stuff. Like if they're like afraid to talk to people, but they think it's gonna be a life skill that they should be better at. Like I'm like, let's go out, let's do it, practice it, But like I a lot of times I ask my client like, where do you want to go? Like what do you want to achieve in this thing? But like who do you want to be at the end of this experience that we're gonna work together? And I try to present myself as a partner. I don't present myself as much as like a listener. I think the Carl Rogers is great. Sometimes you got to go back to the basics and just do active listening. But the style that I do is much more engaging. And it's like, I think I like to see that like I walk side by side with my clients as we're like searching for their meaning. That's the way I approach it.
But if, like, for instance, let's just say you walk a step back or you take a step forward, how would that shift change for you or them?
Well, we got to check each other too. The existential is one of the psychotherapies where you, as long as you know and you have a purpose and you're able to justify it, you can even disclose in that therapeutic model, which is completely controversial to the whole notion of like you have to be this blank slate, right? You have to be this mirror for somebody else. No, in existential psychotherapy, you're actually allowed to be yourself as you approach this partnership with this other person. So it's definitely a much more active style. And that's where I'm even saying too, I'm not listening as much. I am like, we're having an active conversation. This isn't just one way. I'm not just reflecting.
Are there certain interventions that you use commonly with clients? Are there like certain things out of existential therapy, like certain interventions or?
I think there's a lot of use of metaphor. I think that's what I do a lot. I kind of try to explain what they're going through, and then like in how someone else might like empathize with it, and then kind of exploring with them how they feel, right? Do a lot of decision making too, a lot of motivational interviewing, right? Of just like, what are the pros and cons? What would it mean to you if you went this way, and what would it mean to you if you went the other way, right? Like, does this decision define who you are? Is that aligned with your identity? Is that how you see yourself? I do a lot of those types of questions.
Is it like road mapping? Like you hear, if you make this decision, this is where it can lead you. If you make that one, it is possible. This one is possible. Or, negative, positive kind of route. Is that kind of what you...
That's definitely another technique too, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, if we want to get all metaphorical and cool with it too, like I think some people even call it like the journey into the unknown, right? Because you don't know that other side yet, and sometimes it's scary to look at that unknown because you haven't made that decision yet.
And that's what you mentioned when we started,
right?
I think it comes up most in my work, like when I'm dealing with grief, because these are or like sort of experiences with like homelessness as well, and sometimes I feel really helpless when I'm working with the client that's telling me that they're currently homeless, and they don't have any other disorder, they don't have like any other thing that's like impairing them, but this is like an existential thing, or like with their family, like what does it mean? We're losing our home, like we're living here. And you have all these fucking factors that are fucking these clients up, right? And kind of questioning them. But we use this metaphor of like weathering the storm, and kind of like walking through this bridge of the unknown. You still don't know what it is, but you're hoping to get to the other side.
Yeah, man. I think that sometimes we look at even like trauma, right, as kind of like something that shakes you to your core, like even to the point where your nervous system in your body physiologically gets hyper aroused because you're just like so shook into the core. That's how trauma affects the body and affects the person, right? But existential, I think, is kind of like that style of just like, okay, what are these existential questions? What are these existential crises that shake you to your core? And starting to try to explore that with the clients. What meaning do they assign to it? Was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? Was it a loss? I think for me, when I talk about what inspires me as an existential psychotherapist and even to look into this field is I feel like I had a lot of identity crises growing up. I felt like, I didn't have the best relationship with my dad. Like I would see him, I wanted him more in my life, but there was just a lot of that. And then later in life, I lost my godfather, who was like actually my dad. So I feel like I've had these experiences where it's like, I have to even ask myself, who the hell am I now? And I think that now would probably be a good time if we all kind of share a little bit of like, what's one of these existential crises that we've gone through, What are some things that have made us puzzled at that fork in the road and question, who am I now? This identity shift, because we've all had them. We've all been talking about experiences like school, like prevention, like even more personal experiences like psychedelic experiences and stuff like that have helped shape us. But what are also some of these existential times that we've had in this house, in Therapy House, with all the members here?
I mean, I could be honest. Existentialism, I know, like in grad school, I was never really great at it. I think even when we were doing some classes with Gerald Shapiro, when we had to present on it, he's like, almost got it. Almost.
You almost got it.
I think I definitely hit existentialism through a lot of other approaches I use, narrative therapy and talking about meaning and solution focus with just kind of road mapping, decision making, choices. But for the most part, from what I understand, it's mostly been about different parts of your life, different things that happen to you shift your identity. And so for me, it's been, of course, becoming a therapist finally and dealing with that kind of imposter syndrome because finally I am now a therapist. Now I can create change and I should be able to help everybody. So there definitely was a piece in time where, you're homeless. I got a solution for that. Let me wait, I don't. So there was some times where I may have tried to work out of scope, like, oh yeah, you got a problem with your foot? Oh, well, let's put some ice on it.
I'm giving that medical advice.
Like, oh, you got a little
He said you got a hairline fracture on your ankle.
I can either confirm or deny that that's happened in my life.
But that looked broken.
But what would it mean if you didn't do that, right? Is the existential question.
So there was definitely that piece of like, I need to be all things. I need to be the healer, the master healer, and know everything. But in reality, I don't need to. Mm-hmm. I think there's been, moving out of my parents' house, like that was living on my own. Just trying to like, oh wait, I can do this, and what does this mean? Am I an adult? Is this adulting now? Yeah. And then quickly learning adulting sucks. And I should never do it again.
Responsibilities.
I should never do it again.
Never.
Reset. Dude, parents, I'm coming home.
Man, no, it's too late. They're like, yo, as soon as you leave,
you out.
Come back. Yeah. You come over, bring food with you. And when you leave it here. So, yeah, I think, so thinking about that, thinking about how it changed me, how it changes my relationship with other people, like my parents when I moved out, that shifted dramatically. Nice. My mom is a little bit more warmer. Instead of just being around her, siphons her energy. It's like, oh, like, when are you going to come by? All right. Okay. All right.
I think we all need to take a trip to the Knight's house, the Knight's casa.
Say what's up.
It's all a walking distance.
There ain't nothing over there. Overwhelmed dog. And you guys know how
Jake.
You know how Jake is. He's out here looking for butt.
Yeah, for butt.
So hey, if you want to deal with that existential crisis, then by all means, I think Rascal's had enough of that.
Rascal.
But yeah, I think there's just other things, life, new friends, old friends. How do you keep up with the old friends when you got new friends? Are you different groups of people, different stages of life? What community you're with now, and how you stay connected with those people? And it's just life continues to change. You're always in a new predicament. You're always trying to figure out your new identity, and once you figured it out, you lose it and you have to start all over, because in this life you know nothing. And that's why we have John to help us through it, right?
Well, we'll definitely find that meaning, brother.
I mean, John needs his own existential therapist. You know, how about that? Like,
unless he
I
finds
got a
that
theory.
annoying.
John goes through a lot of existential shit. So, how have you been dealing with your shit?
Well, you're right, man. I mean, it has been different stages of life, man. Like I think what hit me, what you said right now, was the different groups of people. I remember in high school, like I think every single year of high school, I started hanging out with different groups of people. I met this fool in high school, but I remember when I was part of a trifecta, with the brothers over there, and then like I was hanging out with more of the Asian kids, and it's like, and then I went to the Filipino crowd, and I went to the skaters, and like you're right, there are these kind of things like where you kind of start to think, who am I? And now I'm going through different ones, right? I'm moving in with my partner pretty soon. Love you, baby. Shout out, Steph. But there's all these existential crises. I've become more of a stepfather. There's been a lot of different ones.
Yeah. Yep. Having an older adult relationship with your parents. I think that's one thing I've been interested in looking into, because like I've never drank with my parents. I've drunken around my parents, but never like, oh yeah, come on,
Yeah, let's go have a drink,
beer.
yeah.
Like that's a whole that's a step. That's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
We just got closer.
This is working.
Thanks again, everybody, for tuning into Therapy House. Here to remind you to check out our link tree at linktree/therapy_house. There you can find all the links for our podcast website, the different platforms that we are broadcasting on, individual links to our personal pages, like, comment, rate, and review our podcast so that we can grow. And of course, subscribe so that you'll be the first to know when we drop something new. Until then, we'll see you next time.